Right, okay, so... yeah, so the first officer is Natala. His first officer at the time was Andrews. Second officer was Natala. Third officer was Vibers. Fourth officer was Bertram. Fifth is Caval. Sixth is Nova. So because the commander structure is, yeah, Caval has currently gone up to fourth officer. Bertram's third officer. Natala and Vibers have swapped around. So Vibers took the first officer slot. Natala took second officer. Or stayed as second officer.
Wow. Well, how about we get rolling with that intro?
Nope.
But first, I have to turn this off. Ooh, look at that, the intro's not playing. No, we're not going to be back soon. I'm just switching scenes so I can try and get this thing moving.
Really, Gareth, you're the director. Act it out.
Season 2 has already started.
No, apparently the intro doesn't want to play today. Okay, that's a shame. It didn't cache. So we're just going to throw ourselves into hello everybody, and welcome to the further misadventures of the crew of the USS Navis. So let's throw ourselves into our usual happy, jolly theme.
Quick guys, act miserable.
Oh. That was adorable. Thank you, Ian.
Is it over yet?
No intro today, I'm afraid. For some reason it didn't want to cache or run, so anyway, you get my happy, smiling face instead. Welcome back to the USS Navis, everybody. Let me just check. It seems that folks are connected up to Foundry okay?
Yar.
And can see everything. Everybody's found their characters. Nice. Is everybody getting the feed from Sirenscape through alright?
Yes.
Excellent.
Oh, I'm totally promoting Claude to counsellor.
So,
I think Claude would be an amazing counsellor.
so everyone needs to get their story straight. Stoker's already dead. We had to bombard the site from orbit. Oh dear, let's go home.
Yeah. I think this conversation came up last week, and the result was the commanding officer is the doctor who took the Hippocratic Oath, who won't be abandoning someone to die.
If someone accidentally shot her, then it's like, well, she's dead now. It's like, so you're not.
If someone accidentally shot her, then Andrews is going to get a bunch of paperwork.
Which might not ever get off her desk. ISIS has been filed, Doctor. Yes, I've taken the appropriate actions.
Our heroes, ladies and gentlemen.
Someone has to at least pretend that they're in Starfleet.
It's turning into the Sunday night game.
Like-
Morally ambiguous party.
We put the doctor aside, go through his bag to find whatever meds could induce amnesia, jab him with it, then we convince him she's already dead.
Let's all go home.
Yeah, let's trust a plan from the Changeling.
Oh yeah, that's a good point. Actually. The Changeling suggested that. Right, okay, let's follow the Doctor's
Yeah,
orders,
it's
guys.
gonna be changeling with a rank at the end of this, damn it.
He admitted he's a Changeling then.
Doesn't matter. We're all changing from one thing to another. I'll be changing from one rank to another rank.
Claude says we should respect the sanctity of life. As he's being puppeted by Gareth, so there we are.
I agree with Claude. He speaks a lot of sense. That's why we should make him counsellor.
Claude is wise.
It's true.
For a man made of rocks. Alright then, just to bring everybody up to speed, which no doubt they're already up to speed, but... Claude is indeed a rock of many talents.
Is he sedimentary, metamorphic?
Oh god, no.
Ambulatory. And here come the rock-related jokes.
I think that will be what the season 2 intro is, Star Trek Navis, starring Claude and a bunch of people significantly less interesting.
Yes.
Or to the Boulder Patrol. Go fully Saturday morning kind of Scooby-Doo-esque cartoon.
Can we
Like
change it?
1990s Hanna-Barbera.
As the guy who
Can we
makes the
change it
intro,
now?
because as the guy who makes the intros, can it be Star Trek Claude now?
I was just about to say exactly the same thing. I'm all for Star Trek Claude.
I am going to have to change the format of everything. In fact, I'm going to have to change the format of this game now, so we may as well stop here. I need another week to prepare, as I entirely changed the focus to Terence and Claude.
Yeah, we all just play NPCs in the Claude adventure.
There's only one character that matters now, and apparently that's Claude.
We can all be from the same species and be his rock band.
No,
Oh.
you can't. You can't.
You can't. So thanks for tuning in, ladies and gents.
God, the streams dropped to 2 people rather than 3.
Okay, well, that explains a lot. Well, I've been trying to get this summary out for the last 5 minutes, but hey, who the heck cares?
Players always wrecking games.
No, everybody's the players-wise, everybody's up to speed. But just for the sake of those who are watching, you poor souls. Yes, the Navis has been given the task of escorting the somewhat mentally unwell or mentally affected Admiral Stoker to a moon that she was scrawling the coordinates to, in a bid to try and see if A, we can get to the bottom of what's really going on with Stoker and these mysterious planets in the Shackleton Expanse that have all have the ancient civilization with the pentagrammatical monoliths in common. And of course the people who have allegedly, according to Stoker, but also have been appearing, these people who appear to be either trying to get in on what's going on or sabotage what's going on. It's unclear. But certainly previous instances like the debacle with Councillor, in inverted commas, Tannenbaum's infiltration of the Navis, twice, once as a councillor, the second time as an actual infiltrator. So Admiral Hebert would like to finally get to the truth about what's going on with all of this. So the Navis has been given leave to come to the system of Soam Satgil in order to try and find out what's actually going on. So the Navis, with its restructured, temporarily, command structure, has come to the system and has found a moon with evidence of a civilization on it, but with no actual life signs. When the Navis got into orbit, Admiral Stoker was transported out of the brig and transported down to this planet. The away team has managed to track down where Stoker finally ended up in a central building within one of the major metropolis on the moon, but have found evidence of these weird vine-like growths, which are part technology, part almost plant, spread throughout the city and seem to be issuing from this central point here. And bundled up in a mass of wires and weird filaments is Admiral Stoker herself. Now, the away team found evidence of an alien corpse in one of the nearby rooms of this central structure, and there was evidence that technology had managed to infiltrate that corpse. Whether it was pre or post-mortem is very difficult to discern at this point. But the away team has finally found Admiral Stoker, and she is currently suspended in a mass of wires and filaments that is in a massive circular room. And so, yes, we find ourselves in this predicament?
Crying for help, if I do believe, if I remember correctly.
She actually mouthed the words, "Help me."
Oh, that was it.
So,
I was playing plot, wasn't I? I think.
Yeah, pity none of us can read lips and skip it.
Oh dear, yeah.
Sir's face.
Commander, Claude reckons we should put up transportation buffers and inhibitors in this area as a fallback.
Set up an area. We need to try and get Stoker out of here. Claw to in, set up the areas. The rest of us advance carefully towards Stoker.
Is the floor in here just like it was in the previous room? They're like chock-a-block with those very sharp filament vine things.
that is a good point. Yes, this room that you're currently in was webbed up quite well with those wire filament things, as you quite rightly point out. This large circular spheroid chamber, for lack of a better words, that you're looking out over does have those filaments, but on a much larger scale. They all seem to either issue from or are linked to nodules in the walls of the chamber, and they all seem to conglomerate in this mass in the center.
How easy is it going to be to get to Stoker through them, or are we going to need to actually figure out a way there?
Well, from where you're currently looking, it looks like you might have to walk across them. It's possible you could use the filaments to actually walk across to get to the central mass. Probably not going to be easy, and you're going to have to be very careful that you don't fall, because it is a bit of a drop.
How sharp do they look?
These filaments look thicker, and therefore less likely to be razor sharp, but that's not saying that you might not sustain some kind of damage if you do fall.
It's more just catching this or tearing the suit, so I was thinking climbing up them.
That's a good point, because there is a very chlorine-rich atmosphere. Somehow Stoker has managed to survive it without an EV suit, but you have brought a spare to get her out with.
Yep.
What does Bravo pick up?
Bravo. Good point. Bravo being the Betazoid, and Nova also. Can I may as well get both the Betazoids to do the same. Can I get them both to give me, what do I usually do with this? Insight and command tasks, please, to see how much they can glean of Stoker's mental and emotional state at present. I'm gonna give it a 1. So that's success from Bravo. Not so much from Nova, who's the empath. Okay. So, Nova from this distance is having trouble reading Stoker, but she doesn't necessarily think it's because Stoker's put up walls, her usual defensive walls. It's almost like something's impeding Nova's ability to read Stoker. However, Bravo, being a telepath rather than an empath, is getting a jumble of thoughts. On the surface, there's definite distress, but also there's these other mixed thoughts that are not quite... You're not quite able to pinpoint what they are. If I could draw the best analogy possible, it would be like... if you imagine when you read someone's thoughts, it's almost like you can see moving pictures kind of floating around their head. Almost like there's like floating television screens or something that you can, if you look at one, you can, watch it and glean information from it. But now there's like these thoughts flashing in. There's like a jumble of images, and then they retreat, and another one pops up. So in amidst Stoker's thoughts of distress and wanting to be rescued. Thoughts of distress at being physically, I hate to use the word, but I'm going to use it anyway, violated, but also mentally violated. And it's Bravo gets these weird, like, momentary flashes of other mental projections going up in Stoker's brain that when they come up, it's just a flash of weird images that are difficult to discern, and then they disappear just as quick, only for another one to float up somewhere. You're not exactly sure what to make of it.
Similar to... could it be something similar to somebody with sort of multiple personality disorder, or even somebody who's hosting additional personalities?
At this distance, with that initial reading, it's difficult to tell, but it's certainly unusual. Multiple personalities, like dissociative identity disorder, or dissociative identity disorder, I should say, would be an explanation, and considering how erratic Stoker has been in the past, it would make some psychological sense. But there's definitely a feeling of alienness to these other thoughts, because you're not quite able to interpret them in a meaningful way. So, hopefully that answered your question. As much as I can.
You're smart.
Thank you. I do my job. Lieutenant... Sorry, go on.
Connected to this thing? Are we able to see how she's connected to this thing?
Not
Like,
from
is it
this
similar to
distance,
the
I'm afraid.
body we found, or?
You can't tell from this distance. All you can see is like one arm and her upper torso and her head. The rest is very much enmeshed in this massive conglomeration of metal wires and filaments. Lieutenant Turin kind of pipes up at this point. In all of my studies of ancient cultures, Doctor, Commander, Sir, the only technology that I've seen come anywhere close to this kind of level, and dare I say intrusiveness, would definitely be something akin to the Borg, but if I may, and maybe Mr. Edwards can confirm this, but this all seems too ancient for that to be a possibility.
Is you thinking something that might have started the Borg?
It would be far too early for me to lend that hypothesis any credence, but we noticed that the alien body had technological implantations, or insertions. It's possible that these are the means by which Stoker is being kept alive. I would recommend that perhaps that we proceed carefully with the Admiral's extraction, just in case.
Bring the environmental suit. If we detach her and she immediately starts to degrade, we'll need to get her in there as quickly as possible.
Doctor, if I may be so bold,
Yep.
I'm afraid that my expertise is somewhat limited in extracting admirals who may or may not have intrusive technology implanted into their bodies. My medical knowledge is somewhat limited, but I will, of course, do my best if you order me to engage in
The
such.
doctor's... Bertram, Bertram says, I wasn't intended to throw you in the deep end. This is new to all of us. We'll all be learning as we go. And yeah, I'll be going in to try and help the Admiral. Claude, sorry, what were you saying?
Just saying, hold phaser, point at thing that moves, shoot.
Yeah, definitely watch our back. Setting up those transponders you're talking about. Matt, do I remember right? We haven't been able to contact the Navis since we entered the building? Or do I?
Correct.
Am I misremembering that?
You remember correctly.
Okay. Right.
Incidentally,
Moving forward. Yep.
just as a slight aside, Nova, you are reading. You're reading slivers of emotion from Lieutenant Turin. She's actually kind of anxious and apprehensive, and is using all of her Vulcan training to keep that down. So it very much strikes you that Lieutenant Turin, she's a lieutenant in rank that's been earned not exactly in the field. So she's kind of green in this regard. But proceed.
Unless anyone has anything more to offer, the Doctor is going to start carefully making his way over.
Okay.
I can't remember. Did we bring?
I've got,
com?
we've got pattern enhance.
We brought pattern enhancers and the opposite.
Teleportation inhibitors.
Yeah.
Teleportation inhibitors. We didn't bring comms.
Oh, we've got our own comms, but that's about it.
Yeah.
I don't think there was anything that boosted communications.
Not exactly, no.
We've got an emergency transponder.
Which is basically a signal that goes beep, beep, beep.
And I accidentally closed the window. So,
That's fine.
Got a deliverance, fell out of the world.
Let me see now. So,
Claude follow Lieutenant Bravo.
So Bravo, Claught, if I can just get you guys to stop there. So when you reach this bit that you're currently at, that's when the chamber starts to angle, or I say angle, starts to groove downwards quite steeply. So these massive filaments are indeed your best option at getting across, but it's a little bit like tightrope walking.
ooh, that's a point. If it curves down, where's it? What curves down to? Is it like a pit?
Not a pit, it's just a large circular chamber, so it just curves down to a
bowl.
bowl at the bottom, basically, yeah.
I can't see under the big ball thing, so.
Exactly. And there are lots more filaments.
Is
So
Stoker
that's
in
nice.
the ball or on the ground?
In the ball, in the middle, which is suspended in the exact center of the chamber. So in order to get to her, you are going to have to cross these wires, these filaments.
So who brought the
Cables.
Claude don't like this.
I'll take point, because I definitely need to get up there if she needs to be detached.
Of all of us, the most nimble, I'd say, is Nova.
I think I can probably help detaching from a side as well.
Yep.
So
So-
would it be worth you taking the pattern enhance and see if you can activate it to help the ship maybe get a lock?
It's the
I'll communicate with the ship to ask them to get a lock.
we need to ascertain if she is, as Tenterin theorised, cybernetically connected to it. They may not be able to, even if they can get a lock. We need to get up there and ascertain if she just needs pulling out, or if we need to actually
Remove her.
remove her.
I would say, also to say the obvious, we can't rule out the fact that it may have grabbed her and might have some sort of ambulatory capabilities.
Yeah, hence why we're having, as Claude said, them ready to actually defend us if this thing is both alive and malevolent.
Alright then.
You're only going to find out if someone goes up there.
Yeah.
So, what would you like to do?
We
Go on.
could shoot at the ball first
You could.
If it's
see if it responds.
He was a bit aggressive for starting.
yeah,
And also,
That's
we don't
okay.
want to provoke
If
a
she-
threat response straight off the bat.
Yeah, and if she's connected to it, then shooting it might either hurt her or cut off whatever's keeping her alive.
So I ask again, what would you like to do?
Bertram is...
There was a real Bobby moment, and they were like, oh dear, what a pity. Never mind.
Okay. Bertram is going to start trying to get up there to see if he can actually get close enough to ascertain what the situation is.
Sean, what were you about to say?
I was going to say Nova's going to head up and try and assist with detaching it.
Okay. So first you need to get over there. So this is going to be a bit of a balancing act. Now, contrary to what the image might be showing you, there are actually... These are just the biggest filaments that are more obvious, that are stretching between the place. There are tons of these filaments, like a massive... Almost like a spider's... Well, very much like a spider's web. So... Hey, Claude, how strong are you?
Claude pretty strong.
It's Nova.
So tempted to ask him to throw me up.
Claude,
So,
if Lieutenant Nova commands, Claude will obey.
So, I am going to go with something a little unusual. Or do I? This is definitely going to be fitness. Fitness attribute to test your balance. As far as balance and the ability to hold on goes, what discipline would make sense? Almost con, really.
Or security could be argued.
Security could also be argued. So,
Either way,
I won't be very much on this one.
See, I kind of want to make the argument for daring and possibly make it harder on myself that Nova would just literally confidently try and run and balance
Just-
without...
So to me, it does seem like something would be like a daring.
Just monkey barring it up, swinging
Yeah,
on
just that casual walk that she's not worried about.
alright. Since it's definitely within Nova's nature to be that daring, for lack of a better word, I can very much accept the case for daring instead of fitness.
Bertram is not going to be daring in swim. He's going to take it slightly slower.
Are Claude and Bravo accompanying their officers?
I don't know. My suggestion. What do you think, Jan?
I get the feeling nothing is gonna jump out at us from anywhere except potentially the big ball of yarn. So I think we should go.
It's one of them of... Do we want to send one up and keep one down so one can keep us scouting on the lower area, watching around while one's kind of looking up and observe?
Having said that, I see there is an opening on the opposite side.
Yes, indeed.
Send Team Science round Edwards and Troop.
Yes, that's it. Go off on your own.
Yeah, well, yeah. I think maybe either Bravo, Claude, and Edwards should go around the other side. Well, either Bravo or Claude stays here with Nova, and
If Claude goes up to there, for now then, is that we've still got observation on the attack team, but we've also got an observation point on the door. I think we need to get rid of one objective before we move on to the next. I don't want to
Okay.
split the party up at this moment in time.
So
What
Claude
happens when you split the party?
so Claude is going to try and navigate that, getting around the side.
Yes.
Well, I'm very much going to need him to make a test then, if that's the case.
Okay.
Yeah,
Now, if you've got guys following you, then they can, of course, aid, because they can be the hands that catch you if you fall. So, is Turin going with?
This is going to go badly for me, but oh well.
We want to keep people together and say so.
Yeah, I think this. Yeah, we keep Turin with the party in the north up here, but we keep the party in the north does move round until Stoker is secured, so that they're watching both our entry point and a potential exit point to see if anything comes from this way.
Right, so they're going to need to get there first, so I'm going to need you to designate who the primary is. Probably Claude, because he is taking point, but an argument can be made for any. So yeah, who's the primary? Either daring or fitness, plus security to make their way across.
I think Claude's 9-4 on either daring or fitness.
Yeah,
So-
I'll be aiding.
Turin can aid as well, so whoever wants to be Turin. Jan, you may as well. One dice. Righty ho!
Claude, sorry.
Turin, we need Turin to see if she can potentially cancel that.
Right,
So
two
two
successes, but there was a complication. Right. Okie dokie. Let me see. Now, you got 2 successes, which was good for Claude. But I am going to roll these. I got a 7. Claude loses his footing since he is such a big, heavy, wide guy. Bigger than the rest of you. So, Claude has feet that take up more space than you guys. Isn't quite able to judge his footing as well as you do, so he does slip. Now, thankfully, he's got Turin and Edwards. Edwards isn't much of a help because this big, heavy man has now just fallen. But Turin, thankfully, is a Vulcan, and Vulcans are remarkably strong. So with Turin and Edwards holding on, Claude does not fall all the way down, but he slips. He causes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Loses 6 stress. Now, bearing in mind that stress is not like hit points necessarily, it can as much be a representation of your luck avoiding serious injury, but it's also an indication of your mental state, your confidence, your ability to deal with situations. So Claude's confidence has definitely taken a knock here, but his suit has also sustained some superficial damage. If Claude's suit takes any more slashing related damage from these, they are thick, but they're still sharp if you catch them in the wrong way. Metal cabling, then he's at the risk of seriously damaging his suit. So that was a close one.
Claude, stay here for now. Thank you, Lieutenant Turin.
So, Edwards, from your vantage point, Turin is there, and now this is going to sound weird because Vulcans have got greenish blood. So saying that Turin looked quite green there for a moment is a bit weird. But it's definitely like the colour went out of her face for just a moment there, but she did react and grabbed onto both Edwards and Claude and managed to make sure everyone got back onto a stable footing. So she definitely appears to be trying her best to maintain her Vulcan outer demeanour. But that was definitely a heart-in-your-mouth kind of moment for everybody concerned, and, you know, Turin is obviously feeling it, but trying to control it. As for the rest of you, what are you doing?
I think
Guess
we were gonna.
climbing.
Yeah.
Well, your second team is now in position and does have a very good view of the other access point to this circular chamber on. So, your first team is set. So it is going to be daring and security. Once again, you can have a primary and 2 secondaries to assist.
I thought we were doing fitness and con,
Or fitness and con if you want to go that way.
Yeah. That gives me 1 extra point is all.
That's okay, that's fine. Because I justify that as Bertram using that as a representation of him going carefully,
Yeah.
rather than the more overconfident and adventurous. Yeah,
Yeah.
the other two. So.
Does anyone mind if I? Yeah, I was going to say, does anyone mind if I take a point of momentum, because even with the fitness of con, that's still I have to roll 9 or less.
And I am going to spend a point of threat in order to increase the complication range from 20 to 19 on 20.
Thanks, Matt. I always like to use that. Okay.
So is Nova going primary?
Are we doing it
I
together?
thought we were
doing
doing it separately, given we got two completely different.
Well, that's up to you. If you want to go separately, you can go separately. But, Bravo can always clamber along his way and aid the Doctor if he feels the Doctor needs help.
I would say if we were going up together and helping each other, I would be specifically ordering Nova not to actually go up quickly and daringly.
She's gone up her own anyway, though, isn't she?
Yeah, she's gone up her own.
Okay. So Nova can do her own check. Again, the complication range increases. Bertram and Bravo, they can go together, and therefore either Bravo can be the primary and Bertram assists, or the other way around.
What's Bravo's stats like?
Depends on whether you want control or daring.
I think we're going fitness.
Do we have a Davis?
No, we've got a complication. He's already said this.
Hey, Davis.
Hello, Davis. How are you feeling, my bud?
Hell of a lot better than last week.
That's good to hear. So, Nova got 1 success and a complication. Right. Okay.
Never's dead.
Well then, shall we bring the Davis up to speed really quickly? Let's do
Please
that.
say this isn't inside my book.
Are you in? Are you able to see everything?
I'm in, I can see. Everything's
Okay.
purple, and it's definitely not my call.
Just to bring you up to speed as quickly as I can manage. Even though Admiral Stoker has gone somewhat batty, speaking to things or people who aren't there, Admiral April Hebert would very much like the whole mystery as to what this is all about, especially the whole notion of who is actively trying to either thwart or get in on these missions of Stoker's regarding the strange ancient technology and the alien culture. So, in her ravings, Stoker was scrawling down coordinates of this moon that the away team now finds themselves on. So, Admiral Hebert gave the Navis dispensation to take Stoker along to this moon as an attempt to try and figure out what's going on, and maybe even smoke out who has been interfering with your missions of late. When you got there, there was a lifeless planet with lots of, or a lifeless moon, I should say, with evidence of advanced technology, but no life forms. When you got down to this planet, it's got a chlorine-heavy atmosphere, therefore no biological life signs, except Admiral Stoker was beamed away from the ship when the Navis was in orbit. Any attempt to try and beam the Admiral back was scuppered by the fact that there are transporter-like devices, I suppose, in or around this alien metropolis, but they kept on scrambling the transporter beam, so a shuttle was brought down, safely, I might add, piloted by Mr. Edwards, no less, although he had help from an alien tractor beam to land, so, you know.
Second time.
The away team found the alien planet littered with these various weird plant-like these vine-like growths everywhere. But when investigating them, they're very much more metallic even machine-like, but very much mimicking creeping vines and stuff like that. They were even approximations of weird, almost techno trees that were found about the place. But finally, the away team came into a central building where these strange wires, these filaments, seem to be emanating from, and you found a central chamber from which these filaments seem to coalesce into this big mass, this ball in the middle of this circular chamber. And Admiral Stoker appears to be caught up in this central mass. Now, it bears noting that since Admiral Hebert made Commander Andrews acting captain of the Navis, Vibers has now been made acting first officer. So Vibers is currently on the Navis, doing his first officer duties. Natala is also up on... Natala is also still second officer and is also still up on the Navis, as is Caval. So Dr. Bertram is technically in charge of this away team, and we have Nova, we have Bravo of security, we have the newly transferred in new tactical officer. Is he an ensign or is he lieutenant? Lieutenant Claught, who was transferred in from the Nightingale. And also your newest addition to your crew, Lieutenant Turin, who is an expert on astrophysics, but also xenoanthropology and xenoarchaeology. So she's kind of been brought on as an official Starfleet aide, where, you know, Edwards is a civilian in that regard, but she has similar focuses, but not identical focuses to Edwards, so it's kind of more of a complement. So that's where we find ourselves. The away team is now split into two, with Claude and Edwards and Lieutenant Turin kind of in a lookout position, because they can see another entranceway to this chamber. There was a near moment where Claude nearly fell to his doom, but Lieutenant Turin was able to hold on to both Edwards and Claude to stop them from going over. So now it's Nova and Bravo and Bertram's turn. As far as yourself, Navis, you can take control of Lieutenant Turin, who's the supporting character for this. So can you just confirm to me that you've got access to Lieutenant Turin's character sheet and you can see everything about her? Yep, seems so.
Yep, looks like it.
Okay, cool. Excellent. There we go. So, yeah, you can take a minute to just gloss over her character sheet, see what she's got available to her. Righty-ho, so we were in the middle of... Nova had just decided to go off by herself, so can I now get Bravo and Bertram to give me their attempt to get over? So who's the primary out of these two?
Probably Bravo should be primary. He has better fitness and stuff and con than I do.
Okay. So even if Bertram is leading the way technically physically, you know, Bravo is going to be trying to tell him where to put his feet.
Yeah.
You know, what to hold on to, advising him that, you know, make sure your feet are stable first before you move your hands. And so then Bertram is going to be doing that very, very carefully. So
yep, so I'm rolling the assist.
So you're rolling the assist using the attributes that you wanted to roll, and that's one success. I did increase the complication range, which we'll get to with Nova in just a mo.
I think we're grabbing a point of momentum.
Yep, okay.
Yeah, go for it.
You've already got one, so anything more you add. Two complications. Right.
So,
all right then.
Someone's falling off and ripping up their suit. That means we have to use the spare one to save that person.
Ooh.
Oh well.
Hello. So that's two effects. whatever is a GM to do. Right. Nova, as ever, is keen to hurry across and not exactly monkey bars it, but is going across quite quickly. As Nova gets halfway, the tension of the wires that she's using, especially the ones that she's using to put her feet on, is a lot less than expected and starts to bow downwards. And all of a sudden there's like a strum effect that goes off on the wire, and that makes the wire vibrate. And that makes Nova lose her footing. And sadly, the same kind of thing happens to Bravo and Bertram as they get halfway across. Even though they're being careful, this sudden strum effect sets off a vibration in their filament also, which makes the thing rock violently as the vibration goes through you, which means you all lose 10 stress as you basically hold on for your lives. Starfleet Decoration of Gallantry. Once per mission, whenever the character would suffer damage, halve it. Yes, indeed you do. Let me add 5 more to that. Boop! However, each of you have now suffered damage to your EV suits. Your oxygen is now less than it was as it is slowly venting. Now, you had 2 hours of oxygen. It's taken you roughly 30 minutes to get to this place. You've now got about 50 minutes of oxygen remaining rather than the hour that you were expecting.
Right. In that case, we need to get this done damn quickly.
So you're able to climb back onto the filaments and make your way across to the central ball, but now, of course, you've got damaged EV suits. That was a very close call, so your adrenaline is spiked.
Yep.
So you are able to make your way across to the middle section. Everyone else who was watching this, you definitely all had a heart-in-mouth moment as everybody wondered if they were actually going to fall. But yes, everyone, Nova, Bertram, Bravo, your EV suits have now got a red alert, as it says that your life support system has been damaged. Please see an engineer as soon as possible. So you've got that alert. You can silence the verbal alert, but there's still going to be a flashing red floating icon in your helmet's heads-up display. Claude can't take the stress anymore. Back to the Nightingale I go. Yes, his first posting, and it's already gotten quite hairy. Okay.
Okay. I have no idea if Bravo can. I'll say, as we're working on this, Bravo, see if you can patch your suit, if you've got the ability to do so. And I'm going to start examining Stoker to see how hard it's going to be to get her out of there.
Right, so if you want to examine your suits, Bravo's speciality is definitely not in engineering. He's okay at it. He's got the same basic training as everybody else. But his insight and engineering is not as good as Nova's. Nova is definitely the better engineer, so it might be an idea for Bravo and Nova to team up, while Bertram is doing his medical thing and examining Stoker.
Yep.
In the meantime, can I get Edwards and Trin, even Claude, to all individually give me reason plus science checks? I know for Claude it's not really his strong point, but your tricorders all register an alert.
Are we 2 dice or 1 dice each? For that?
You can aid each other if you really want to try and make sense of the readings.
So insight and science.
Insight and science, yeah. So whoever wants to be primary, if you want to do it that way, is fine by me.
I'll give me a problem. Is it basically alert from scanning something, or?
Yeah, your tricorder's registered. Your tricorders are picking up an alert, basically. They've given you an alert, so...
Any of my foci, basically. I was trying to angle that.
Not really.
Okay.
Same goes for Turin. Logic is more of her value, but she does have... well, studious is for obtaining information, testing a theory. Yeah, so Turin has got the talent testing a theory, so that when she's using science, she can roll an additional d20. As long as she succeeded at a previous task. I'm willing to waive that for the time being. While that's also going on, can I get Bravo and Nova to give me reason and engineering, with Nova being the primary and Bravo being the support?
I'm also going to activate testing a theory.
Yep. So add an extra dice.
On the
Cool.
communications on the standalone.
Awesome. Nicely done there, Bravo.
Yeah.
3 successes! Okay, hot diggity dog. Alright, so the really good news is that Bravo and Nova working together are able to do a patch job on the life support systems of everybody's suits here, so that they've stopped leaking oxygen. The supply, however, is still dwindled, but it's not going to get exacerbated by doing any physical, stressful activities, if you need to do them in the near future.
With a theory on that, could I siphon some from the spare suit into our suits, in that she's not going to need a full 2 hours because we haven't?
Ooh, I like that thinking. I'll give you, because you got so many successes with that, I will give you that one, yes. You can add more time by siphoning some off.
To actually balance everybody up to the similar level, basically.
So you can gain back the hour. Nice! I like that, well done. As for the other 3, did Edwards give me a insight and science? He did. 2, 3 successes overall. Okay. That vibration in the filaments came from outside and carried all the way through here. But it also, as well as carrying a vibration, carried an energy which came from outside in and registered in that central mass, and it all poured into a central point in the middle of the mass. What that means, you're not sure yet, but you definitely registered an energy reading coming through those filaments that then came into something that's in the middle of this concentrated ball of filaments and wires. Betazoid synergy for the win, indeed. So, can I now get Bertram to give me a... Let me see, this is going to be control plus medicine, because you're using your medical tricorder to get an analysis. Obviously, your focuses apply here.
Okie dokie.
She's dead, Jim.
3 successes.
Awesome sauce, which means you definitely get 2 over and above what you needed, and gain the party
Yay.
back some momentum. Well done.
Which I think we're going to need soon.
All right. Okay. With those successes, you ascertain that Stoker's body has indeed been invaded by some of these filaments. So getting her out is going to require carefully removing them. Now, the good news is that this technology isn't so entrenched that it would endanger her too much to remove them, but it is going to require work. As such, this is going to require an extended task to remove Stoker safely from the central mass.
Okay.
Oh dear,
But-
we don't have enough time.
What you,
Right.
as well as that though, let me see. whilst you're that close to... Hello, cat. Sorry, invasion by cat. Whilst Bertram is that close to Stoker, she actually looks over at Bertram. Now, she doesn't manage to move her head. It's as if she's either unable or it's too painful to. But her eyes definitely move in Bertram's direction, and she starts whispering. So Bertram has to lean in order to try and hear what she's saying, which in an environment suit isn't that easy to do, but nonetheless.
Yeah.
Her whispers seem pained, but mostly lucid.
Yeah.
What you can make out through the EV suit is she's talking about ghosts in the machine. Seems to insinuate that there's something living inside this technology. And you can't be sure, but you could have sworn you just hear her say something along the lines of they're waiting for their chance to take over everything that they interface with.
Well, that's a cheerful thing to hear, isn't it?
That is quite Borg-like.
Yeah. Oh, good. It's gonna be,
It's the wrong quadrant.
and it's old. But to be honest, if we can get Stoker out and then we can get back to the shuttle. First of all, I think there's going to be both medical and quarantining for everyone who's been here. But we might get more of an insight if it is somehow like some sort of ancient proto-Borg, or if it's something different that has a similar effect. Okay. We got the communications up, haven't we? Because I remember last week we managed to get basically interperson communication, so we weren't having to mime or put our heads together to talk.
You can communicate via each other through your communication systems in your suits, but only with each other. Yes.
Righty-ho. Bertram saying, I'm about to start trying to get Stoker out. Beware, she just whispered something about something inside the machines, everyone on their guard.
So, Nova and Bravo can help. This isn't just Bertram that has to do this. This is an extended task, so you can contribute. Due to their distance, however, the other three are going to have to just sit by and watch for the minute.
Yeah.
So what are we going to say?
I don't know if he'll come in, but I've got the talent Intense Scrutiny. Which basically, if I succeed at a task using reasonable control as part of an extended task, I can ignore up to 2 resistance for every effect rolled.
Ah. So whenever you succeed at a task using reasonable control as part of this task, you may ignore up to 2 resistance. Alright.
I thought I just mentioned that because you said it was an extended task.
Yes. And there is resistance, so you get to ignore it. Nice.
Yay!
Very good. Okay, so, yeah. Case can be made for anything. I mean, definitely Bertram will probably use his medical abilities to make sure that the invading filaments are excised carefully. Nova and Bravo can certainly do a bit more brute force stuff to physically remove parts of her body away that are able to be moved, so that, you know, you pull filaments apart so that get her body so that the bits that aren't actually physically attached to her, you can get her ready to move. So everybody can either do one big check, and Nova and, well, you know, one can be the primary, the other 2 can assist, or you can do 2 separate tasks with Bertram doing the medical side and Nova and Bravo trying to do the more physical thing of removing Stoker. I'm up for whatever you guys think you want to do, or how you want to do this.
Rip it right, clean and dirty.
No, I'm going to be looking
dirty.
to actually try and keep her alive as best I can. Plus, Andrews isn't here to roleplay this. Is it likely to be control limiting, given that I'm sort of like manipulating us medically?
Yes, because control is a representation of how well your hands, you know, you're able to control the use of your hands in order to do this.
Yeah.
So control definitely would be a good case. What was that, Jan? Sorry?
Doctor, keep in mind that we don't necessarily need to save all of her limbs to save her.
Bravo, you terrible man.
I think based on that, Nova's going to focus on trying to save her mind and try and shield what she recognises as Stoker's mental state and mental capacity.
That's actually a pretty good idea, yeah.
Out from the noise and the other things in there.
If you stick her in hello, it is being airlocked.
Interesting. I like that.
With...
So, okay, so Bertram could do the medical side of things, Nova can do the mental side of things, and Bravo can do the physical side of things.
Sounds like a plan.
Everyone okay with that?
Yep, I could do that.
Alright. So let's start with, obviously, Bertram.
Okay. Can I use surgery as a focus for this?
Yes, indeed. The difficulty is 3.
Okay. Is that for, like, me specifically or for the whole group?
At the moment, for everybody, yeah. For each of your individual tasks, currently the difficulty is 3. Unless you have a breakthrough. So let's see how well you do.
Feel free to spend momentum, guys.
Yeah.
Indeed.
I'll spend a point of momentum, which increases it to 3 dice.
4 successes! Which means you definitely get a breakthrough. And as such, you make it easier for the others, so you reduce the difficulty by 2. You got 1, 2, 3, 4 successes, so you have 4 down the track. Nice!
And also, screw you, resistance.
Indeed, yes. Alright, that was a brilliant one. So yeah, Bertram gets to work and his hands are almost a blur. It's so practiced, so precise. So, yeah, whoever wants to go next, Nova or Bravo? I mean, as far as getting her ready to get extracted, Bertram has now removed quite a few filaments, so it would make sense for Nova to go next to try and protect her brain before Bravo starts trying to pull her out as much as he can.
So I'm going to make the argument for presence in command on that, I guess. For,
that makes sense to me, yes.
Because she's also been part of Nova's teaching, I'm going to use a determination on empathetic orphan.
Nice. I am going to spend a threat to put the difficulty back up to 3 because you are trying to shield Stoker from whatever's trying to influence her brain or her mind. So you've got active opposition going on here, so yeah, back to difficulty 3. 3 successes on the nose. Which means you get another breakthrough. Which makes Bravo's job that much easier. Nice! So I'm going to ask for Bravo to go next. So it's basically moving Stoker out of some of this tangle of filaments. So...
Is it more of a careful thing, or is it more of a just strength?
That's up to you. How do you think Bravo would go about it?
Well, based on the fact that the doctor is busy with sort of a medical procedure, I think probably more careful.
So control would probably be a better attribute.
Just going back, actually, when Bertram examined her, is she actually breathing chlorine?
That's a good point. The filaments have invaded her lungs and seem to be, processing the chlorine so that she can breathe it at present. But the filaments are definitely an invasion, and you do need to extract them, so it's going to be, the last bit of work is going to be cramming her into this EV suit and activating the life support mechanism before she starts to inhale too much of the chlorine gas. So, I suppose control and security it's going to be for Bravo.
She's only going to clean her lungs for her. She'll never get COVID.
And I'll use a point of momentum on that.
Okay.
Yep.
Go for it. 1 success. Luckily, the difficulty was 1. So, okay. You have removed most of Stoker from the mass. Does that mean you made another breakthrough? Technically, you made another breakthrough. So you have managed to extract Stoker, but as you do, the other 3 register another surge. But this time the surge of power is coming from the central mass, as the entire building now begins to shudder with this thrumming, as if somebody is plucking all of these wires and filaments. And the central mass begins to shift as the filaments and wires begin to move. Some of them part and reveal something akin to a massive mechanical eye almost staring out. And it searches around and then looks down and latches onto the 4 individuals just in front of it. As it untangles itself, a lot of the filaments and wires, the main ones, do remain in the mass, but a lot of the mass picks itself and untangles itself free, and some of these filaments and wires start snaking around of their own accord like massive metal tendrils. And, yeah. Oh dear, it doesn't look happy.
I don't think that is hello.
Definitely not hello. In fact, the 2 Betazoids get this sudden rush of mental and emotional images of it's a bit annoyance sounds a bit light. It's not angry, but it's definitely annoyed. It's kind of a strange mass of almost it's like this being is kind of conflicted within itself. There's a lot of logical thought patterns going on, which seem to be revolving around something almost like its process has been interrupted. Some process it was doing has been interrupted. As a result, that seems to have triggered an emotional response in it, which is annoyance and almost anger. But there's a jumble of other things as well, almost like this thing is unstable? Its logical side and its emotional side, if it can be called that, are very much at war. But it's definitely exuding signs of aggression. And I am going to throw everybody into initiative. So let me first do you guys, or I would if I hadn't have had that. You guys jump up there, so I'm going to add everybody like this. Oh, no, I just got you 3. Okay. So let me get the others. And don't forget Nova. Right, I am going to remove Stoker from the initiative step because she really will have no input into what goes on. Don't bother rolling, I will get it. Because you guys have to decide the order. So, general rule with you guys with this is that one of your characters goes first, followed by an NPC, followed by one of your characters, and blah de blah de blah. So, basically, who wants to go first of you lot?
If they're up there, probably need to go first. But out of which, maybe a Bertram. He is your senior officer.
I've got not a huge amount Bertram can do other than try and actually... Are we actually entangled in the stuff?
You're not entangled, no. You do,
Right.
you're not tangled. You cut and pulled apart and removed wires and filaments. So you didn't tangle yourselves in it. You pulled Stoker free, so everybody is free to move.
Okay. Now that we pulled Stoker out, does it look like she's starting to have breathing difficulties?
Yes.
Right, I think probably the first thing that Bertram wants to do is try and actually stuff her in as quick as he can into the spare suit.
So Bertram does want to go first?
Unless anyone else would rather do or has any better ideas. I'll take
Okay.
that as a no. So, okay.
Let me reorder the initiative step then. Who wants to go after the angry core?
I would probably say either Bravo or Nova.
It's there. So that could be kind of like the extraction team, and then there's kind of like distraction team on the ground going pew 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 pew. But that's my reasoning.
So, yeah, somebody volunteer. Let's go Nova then.
Nova.
Yeah. Who wants to go after Nova? Or you were alright with the order as it is? Nova, Claude, Bravo, Turin, Edwards, or do you want to monkey that around a bit?
It's happy at the end, but I don't know if it's anything I can do.
Okay.
You could activate the emergency transponder you've got.
I don't have it. I have the pattern enhancer. It's terrain's got that. And that's basically an emergency beacon. We want to get that on the Admiral though.
No, we'd just activate it in the local proximity. Because it's just going to be a continual beeping that transmits, so the Navis has got something to try and aim for to try and see if he can pick patterns up.
Well, that'd be terrain. Well, I could use the booster along with that, so it'd be best for her to use it first, then, I suppose.
There we go.
Okay. Okay, so Bertram, you're going to try and stuff Stoker into her EV suit. This is going to be extraordinarily physical and more than a little rude, so let's go with fitness and... We'll have to go fitness and security.
Fitness and medicine. He's done his
Yeah, but he's not doing it carefully and medically, is he? He's just jamming a suit on her, so...
Okay, let's see how badly I messed this up then.
You are able to use momentum, remember, so...
Oh.
She is
Oh,
cognizant. Woo! Hello!
Oh, that doesn't go well.
Right, in which case...
Oh yeah.
It
She
turns out
does-
that bending
Go on, sorry.
an Admiral in half doesn't go inside an EVA suit. The
I
spine's not
am
meant to be
going to
floppy.
use that to add one to my threat pool, actually. Right, Bertram manages to stuff Stoker into her suit, but doesn't have the time to stick the helmet on and activate the suit's own boot-up sequence. So Stoker, for the moment, is still just trying to hold her breath against this environment. You're kind of stuck there, and the massive jumble of wires, the core, is not going to make anything easy. Now, it's the core's turn, unless somebody wants to spend momentum, 2 I believe, in order to maintain the initiative. Going once, going twice. Nope, okay.
We save, yeah, I think we saved the momentum to roll on individual rolls.
So, let me see. This massive cabling kind of shifts and warps its own shape. Now, it's still just an agglomeration of wires and various bits of weird tech, but the thing shapes itself into something very similar to a spider in that it has the tendrils it's using to propel itself along definitely have hooks on the end that it uses to anchor itself to the other cables, but it even has an approximation of what you could almost call a mouth. That it's got these like hook barbs that it's using as something akin to fangs. So let me see. It is going to. Yes, Nova can't help herself. That is so cool! Now then, let me see. You all removed it. It's going to... Yes, so needless to say, Lieutenant Turin, this being her first official away mission, Turin is in part fascinated by this, but also rather alarmed. Turin has been basically inside of labs for the majority of her tenure in Starfleet. This is her first time out in the field, as it were, and so far she's had to go down onto an alien planet with a deadly atmosphere, navigate way through metal webbing.
It's what no one's really figured out about Vulcans. Vulcans were taught the word fascinating.
Yes.
What they actually mean when you put it through the translator properly is, oh, fuck.
Yes. And we are now rated 12 for tonight, so there we go. So that's your one F-bomb that you're allowed, that's fine. Okay, so let me see. It's going to slash at... It's going to go for a daring and security attack against... Let me see. It's going to go against Stoker to try and hook her to get her back. So I got 2 successes. Now, this is technically a physical attack. If somebody wants to interject themselves between the core and Stoker, they are all right to. Otherwise, I'm going to consider that a success. Nova is. Can Nova give me a daring and security check, please?
Can I use acrobatic warning?
Yep! That's fine with me. So your target number is 2 or more. As far as successes go. You got 1. So, the arachnid... Ferro-arachnid, as I'm going to call it now, because it is basically a spider made up of metal, deals no successes. So it manages to get a hooked wire tendril leg onto Stoker successfully, but doesn't manage to latch on fully. Nova puts herself between the core and Stoker, so it makes it a little harder for it. So the creature definitely doesn't have a definite grip on Stoker. So now it's Nova's turn. No successes and no effects, so it didn't do anything else other than get a tendril out. What would Nova like to do?
I suppose that she can see like this thing's got a glowing core and something at the centre of it.
Yes, but it's glowing balefully red and doesn't seem to like you very much.
No, but it's what she wants, so she's going to try and get into it and take that out.
So this is basically going to be another daring plus security, because you're trying to wrestle with this thing for its own heart, basically.
Yeah, I can go with that.
You're going to stick hello in it.
But I'm going to burn the determination on how does this work.
Alright, and I am going to burn a threat to add an extra dice to mine. So I got 1 success and a complication. Cool. You got 4 successes. Okay, so you got 3 above what you needed. Right, so... can I get Nova to deal me an unarmed strike, please? Four successes. Okay, so Nova dives into the massive wires, trying to get at the core, and in so doing has to try and rip some of them out of the way, and as such does cause some damage to the creature. But it, you can't quite. She doesn't quite get at the core because it's basically alive at the moment and very much a part of it. So you dealt damage to it. But little else besides. Claude.
Claude think Edwards and Turin should stand clear. Then drawing the Type 3 phaser. Pew pew. I can never remember how to do this. It's just roll, isn't it?
It's if you're firing a ranged weapon, it's going to be control plus security with difficulty 2.
Starship weapon system, Starship combat tactics, Starship records. Oh, none of his foci work.
No, because he's a tactical officer, not a security officer.
Yep, go for it.
Your momentum pool has been nicely refilled, so yep.
There's always momentum for Claude.
Momentum adds 3 dice, doesn't it? So it's 3 dice.
So you get you get an extra dice, which means you get to roll 3 now. Yeah. Pew pew pew. One success means you missed.
Oh.
So that goes wide. In aiming for the central mass, he just gets some of the cabling. Does he want to move anywhere? Carefully.
I think carefully he's just going to kind of like just get it a little bit closer to allow that he's more of the target than Edwards and Turin.
Okay, so he's presenting himself as the shield between. Okay, bravo. Right, so Nova's jumped on the core. Bertram's managed to get Stoker into most of her EV suit. What would Bravo like to do?
I think Bravo will aim as a fast action and then fire Type 3 phaser as a slow action.
Cool.
Yeah.
Go for it.
Point blank, just go for a maximum spread.
And I think I will use a point of momentum if people don't object.
Yeah, take it.
Go for it.
This is the time for it.
It's control and
Security.
Focus hand phasers.
Yep.
It's not a hand phaser, is it?
Yes, it is. How else do you hold a phaser rifle? Alex?
It's holding. You're holding it in your hands. I'll allow it.
I'm going to hold it with my feet.
How many
You know what I mean?
Can I just say, I can't wait for Webby spin at the end report on how many rules we've all made, because all of the complications.
Oh,
It's a night for it.
Jan's on
Well-
fire tonight with 319s and 120.
But I've got aim, so I can reroll the 20.
Like the
Okay,
way-
reroll the 20 then.
Absolutely. No, I'll keep the 20 because you did roll it, but then it's re-rolled.
I'll reroll. I don't reroll the 20.
It says reroll results and what roll that you rolled. So that'll give you the choice to reroll whichever one of the dice you want to reroll. So
I think that only allows me to reroll the entire.
you can choose how many dice to roll when you do click reroll results.
Okay.
So it can easily be you can choose one dice, and we'll apply it to whichever one of those 3 that you want to reroll.
Or you could roll. Could you re-roll 2 die?
Success.
Just the one, so because they're aiming. So it's a success, which is 2 successes. You are re-rolling the 20, yes?
Yep.
Cool. So you actually get 2 successes, which means you do actually hit. So, kadoosh.
That moped that keeps going round and round.
So that means you actually do get to do damage. So roll that damage. Why I went for that accent, I don't know. So 3 effects. You just aimed though, didn't you? So
Yeah.
any effects that I need to know about on the Type 3? Accurate. Charge. So nothing much. Just doing basic damage then. So 6 successes, which translates to 1, 2. So a very telling phaser rifle hit manages to blast sections of this agglomeration, a ferroarachnid. So a very well placed shot by Bravo manages to blow a great chunk of the creature off. The core is now starting to spark and flicker a bit, but definitely is eyeing Bravo in a very not happy way. So that was Bravo's turn. Lieutenant Turin. What would Turin like to do? I mean, things are getting a bit dicey at this point in time, so...
Turin has gone, I know what the procedure is for this situation. I've been properly trained. This is an emergency problem.
You gotta activate the beacon.
Activates the beacon. Is that a fast action or a slow one?
Activating the beacon is fine, but whether or not it gets out of the this structure is another matter entirely. So we can have Turin make a reason plus science or reason plus engineering check to try and see if she can boost the transponder's signal. I'll make this difficulty 2. No, I'll down that to 1.
I'd say my follow-up is I'll be using the pattern enhancer on it.
Just to poke the transponder with the pattern enhancer. That's not how this works, mister.
So the emergency transponder is basically handheld device that just transmits a boop, 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 emergency in this area kind of thing. But Turin manages to give it a bit of extra boost so that hopefully the transmission it sends out will be able to be received outside of the structure. Nice. Does Turin want to move anywhere?
Yes.
Like maybe to a safer bit of footing. There you go.
To the exit of the structure.
Cool. Edwards. Is using the pattern enhancer to boost the resolution of a transporter scanning beam. Okay. Now, being able to put a pattern enhancer down when you're standing on a bunch of wire filaments is a bit hairy-fairy. So you might want to move to more stable ground first.
Depends where she left the beacon and does she have it with her.
It's a constant beam. It basically just beams.
Yeah, it's a handheld device so it can be put in one of the many pockets on the EV suit, it's fine.
It's the area where we burn off all the excess stuff.
Yep.
And put it down to enhance the beacon.
So a pattern enhancer is usually a trio of enhancers that you put down in order to create a nice little triangle so that they can triangulate your position, and anyone within the triangle effect of the enhancers is more easily able to be discerned. So yes, zone, which if people enter can hopefully allow them to be locked onto by a transporter beam. No check really required for that, so Bertram. So Bravo and Nova are starting to inflict damage on this thing.
Grab the moss, throw it, aim for the eye.
That is something I have in mind, but my first priority is getting Stoker to be able to breathe. I believe she's in the fin, but I need to...
Give us some moss.
If you want to lock her into her suit, then that's probably going to be control and engineering.
Okay. That's a bit high.
I'm going to make this difficulty 1, but I am going to spend threat to increase the complication range.
Okie dokie.
So a 19 or a 20 is going to be a whoops-a-daisy.
And
Woo! Hello, complications!
So you accidentally brain her with
thick
the
and
helmet.
fast.
Yeah, it's almost being distracted by who keeps on telling me to kill bloody Stoker.
It's almost like we don't want to save Stoker.
How did the Admiral die? Well, Bertram maimed her with the EVA suit.
No.
Oh,
I think you'll find that the team leader's fin is going to say that Jonathan Edwards just kept on demanding I kill her. I'm pretty sure he's a changeling.
Right, so...
Right.
I'm going to determine that Stoker is only on 4 stress. If she goes down to 0 stress, then well, things are looking bad for Stoker. Now, in the if the ferroarachnid if the core would have actually hit Stoker with that hook, it would have obviously damaged her, which would have meant even more trouble. As the situation is developing, yes, the filaments that you're standing on are bouncing up and down from the fact that the creature itself is moving about and is thrashing its various limbs around. As a result, as Bertram is locking on the helmet and is trying to engage the life support system, the filaments shake and Bertram loses hold of Stoker. Stoker falls down, doesn't fall through them, but you still haven't activated the life support system. She's starting to choke, or rather she's starting to suffocate, so she loses stress. She's now down to 3. If her life support system isn't activated within the next 3, you're in trouble.
Is she actually still with us, or did you say
she's still conscious, and she's with you, but she's now in a prone position rather than standing, and she is, yes, she's suffocating because she's not able to breathe.
If you inspire her to man the hell out, to Admiral it up, and activate your own EVA suit, you stupid woman.
Pull herself up by her bootstraps.
Yeah, rather than let yourself choke.
So,
cement.
Bertram is able to move if he wants and take Stoker with him, but their distance they can cover is going to be significantly less than it otherwise would have been.
I'll attempt to move her, start moving her away.
Right, the furthest you can get is there.
Okay. Right. I was going to say, prepare to move, prepare to fall back if we can't put this thing down right away.
Are we going to try and beam up, or are we going to try and go back to the Californian?
I think we're going to have to make that decision when we're actually a turn or 2 further in. At the moment, we're not in the position to make that decision yet.
The core is going to attack Bravo with one of its hooks. This is a fisticuffs. Oh, I'm getting a complication now. Wow! Apparently Foundry hates me too. So, yeah.
So at
missed.
the moment, 19 and 20 are currently tied for first on 6 rolls each.
And now it's going to try and...
I accidentally killed Stoker when I accidentally suffocated in her own suit. Gort broke a leg while tripping. Nova accidentally choked herself on a thing, and the transponder thing blew up, injuring the others. And the only reason we survived is this ferroarachnid accidentally beat itself to death.
Seems to be the way it's going at the moment, really, isn't it?
It's a Saturday night game. It needs to roll a reflex save or attack itself.
Fall off.
So yes, the damage that's been inflicted is making it lose its own coordination, so it flings a limb out towards Bravo, but doesn't manage to catch him, and as such it loses some of its footing, which means that its difficulty for trying to hit Nova with its bite, its equivalent of a bite, is now 2 rather than 1. So I'm going to try this again, and another complication! What the hell? Yeah, right. Epically failing here. The core is obviously... Nova ripped so many pieces out of the core, and then the damage inflicted on it by Bravo with his very telling hit has damaged the creature's coordination, and is now flailing wildly, unable to affect much, including giving itself some very unsteady footing on the filaments. So, yeah, my own worst enemy there. Nova.
So I'm gonna try and vault around its flailing arm that missed the Bravo entirely. Try and use that to gain some momentum to thrust further into towards the core and hopefully dislodge it. And just a swift kick at the core.
A swift kick in the core.
Yeah, trying to knock it out of position.
Right. That's fine. Yes, indeed. So same as before, basically. This is going to be daring and security with your focus.
Yeah, I'm going to rob a momentum as well because I've not done that tonight.
That's cool. Everyone's all right with that?
Yep.
Yeah, fine.
I am going to respond in kind because this is basically a fisticuffs, but because I got a complication, it's going to be more difficult for me. So, I am going to say that because of my previous complication, I'm going to nullify one of those successes on myself, which means that Nova succeeds, which means that Nova can roll unarmed damage, please. Two successes and an effect. So, yeah, so in swinging around its tentacle, or its leg, or whatever you want to call it, Nova essentially dislodges one of its anchors that it uses to stay upright. She lands a telling kick into the core, which does dislodge a couple of bits, but doesn't do much damage. But the thing is, now, it's not exactly prone, it's got too many legs and it's got a wide base, but it's definitely not very secure in its quote-end quote footing. So you've put it at a disadvantage, certainly. Is Nova going to stay there or is she going to move?
I think she'll stay there.
Okay.
She's going to cover for Bertram and Stoker to get further away, I think.
Cool beans. Claude. Claude's two charges have moved to a safer environ, so...
I shoot, but Claude shoot.
Claude shoot. Oopsie-daisy. Two successes, which means he hits. What weapons are you using?
Type 2 again, type 3, sorry.
Type 3, so this is going to be a Pachoosh. So there's a hit. Roll damage, please. 9 successes and an effect. Take that. Claude manages to hit a shot that, thanks to the efforts of Bravo blasting chunks away out of it, Nova beating it so that the main core is coming loose and also knocks it prone, makes it an easier target for Claude, who takes aim down the barrel of his phaser rifle, fires, and manages to strike it right in the core, which sparks, shudders, and the light kind of winks out. And the whole mass just kind of falls and flops off and crashes down to the bottom of the chamber. Whoa. So there we go. So let's just put this in. So that gets rid of that particular part of the immediate threat. But before I move to the initiative on, does Claude want to move, put himself with the others?
Yeah. Probably move and try and be in a position to help Stoker down.
Okay. Or at least help Stoker across. That's fine.
Because dropping an EVA suit.
Good point, we don't want to hurt Claude.
Yeah, if Claude's EVA suit takes another knock, he's going to be in trouble. So he just like.
Claude's massively against Stoker. He's not mad.
Yeah, no, he hasn't.
Now there is a curious rumbling going on at the moment.
Stoker was in command when we went to visit Nightingale, wasn't she?
Stoker was in command when you were on the mission to the Nightingale. Yes.
No, that was good. That was.
No, that was Akul. That was Captain Akul. Pardon me. Putting the cool in Akul. Anyway, Bravo. Well, the core seems to now be powered down and destroyed. So.
I think Bravo will just. Bravo will just carefully make his way back to the other crew members.
That's fine. move him to where you want to move him to.
We'll stay behind the Doctor and the Admiral just to, in case any assistance is needed.
Okay, that's fine. I won't ask you to make any task rolls in that regard, so that's all fine. Turin is over there and has done a job, as is Edwards, unless they want to both do anything specific. Other than what they've already done.
Out of interest, has the interference clearly?
To receive and out and down.
No, in fact, there's a build-up. So Edwards is there ready to receive anyone that needs to be helped across by the looks of it. Cool. Turin is probably good by there because she can help people from that side as well as make sure that the equipment stays okay. So we get back to Bertram and, well, the immediate peril has gone, but let's see if Bertram can actually activate Stoker's life support system at last.
Yep. What am I rolling for this?
This is going to be control and engineering.
Okay.
Difficulty 1 this time.
Right.
Because the situation is somewhat less perilous. 2 successes, which means you get one over. You activate the life support system. You hear Stoker take an audible breath in, and she's not dead weight anymore. So she's not exactly fully conscious, probably from inhaling chlorine gas and whatnot.
Yeah.
She's able to be led pretty easily, so I will actually call an end to initiative there because we don't need it anymore. So you are now all able to move across. I'm assuming that Nova's going to try and see what she can salvage.
Yeah.
Because that's what she's.
Try scoring scans of see if anything's still active in it.
That's a good point, actually. As everyone else is trying to make their way across, can I get Nova to give me a control and science check, please, with... I'll allow your inner workings focus to apply here. Difficulty 1. Everyone else can start moving their tokens to where they want to eventually end up. Stoker is easier to carry now that she's going under her own power. 3 successes.
By the door.
Right. So, Nova can get parts of the core, but because it was damaged so badly by both Claude and Bravo's expert shots, being able to salve anything out of it compared to the other cores that you've got is going to be a miracle.
Interesting.
It's been blown to pieces, basically. It's been too badly damaged. But for the sake of having parts, you can recover some parts.
I think that's what I was going to tricorder scan, see what was still active.
Well, this is the thing. The tricorder scans that Nova gets indicates that there's still energy being fed along the filaments. But now that the core is no longer receiving, or as these scans are suggesting, managing the incoming power, there's a slow but steady build-up of energy going with nowhere to go to. Which means that there's a gradual power build-up with nowhere for the power to go, but it's eventually going to reach a critical point, and with nowhere else to go, it's going to feed back along the power lines and probably explode.
Fry everything in the room.
Yes, and with the sheer amount of filaments that you've seen scattered around this place, this release of energy is going to be pretty widespread, if not quite catastrophic. So the sooner you guys get back to the shuttle, the better.
I'm going to be asking Edwards and Turin, do you think we can beam out from here using the enhancers and the transponder? I'll take it up. I assume I've seen you've been working on it.
That's a good point. You do now have pattern enhancers. You can try and get the Navis to beam you up.
Well, yeah, that's what I'm asking him to get. He goes, do you
To
think...
be well, the Admiral, worst case scenario, if we get limited shots at this.
Well, basically I'm saying, what are the odds that we can beam up out of here if we need to? Has Nova actually been feeding in the whole feedback thing is happening?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
It's gonna go boom boom.
Okay.
For exact words.
This basically to the GM because I can't answer that without his cue.
Well, that's fine. But Gareth, continue what you're going to say.
Okay. Sir Edwards, Lieutenant Rin, what are the odds we can actually use these to get out of here quickly?
What are the odds that we can use these to get out of here?
Right. Considering that before there were 5 different essentially transporter sites in this city that were active and therefore were scrambling the Navis' ability to get a lock on Stoker, it means things will probably be difficult, but because you've added the transponder and the pattern enhancers, the chances of the Navis being able to pinpoint your location regardless of these extra transporters is probably good, but it's gonna take talent, so it's down to whether or not you think Lieutenant MacLeod is talented enough to actually get you out of here. You've certainly done all you can do to enhance your the Navis' ability to beam you out.
Perhaps it might be worthwhile extracting to shuttle.
So,
Interference.
From a scientific perspective, this might be a good chance to test the signal of the Admiral.
Tyrion, you've never met the Admiral. Bad.
Okay. Rin, Edwards, do it go or no go? We need a decision.
so it's certainly possible. The issue, of course, with the certainty is that the shuttle can go.
Safer
But-
option is the chip because that's a definite. This is a possibility.
Yes.
We can still try it, but we don't know what's going to happen. We could.
Okay, we go with the ship then, if you're too uncertain about it.
Okay.
Team, we're moving back, falling back to the ship. Let's go.
So to clarify, your options were the transporter would definitely be faster, but it'd be risky. The less risky option is the one that takes time, and now you have a ticking clock.
Yeah. It's basically the answer Edwards gave was, I'm uncertain about this, therefore we're going with the ship. That's Bertram's decision.
All right then. So, if you're going to the ship, that means you need to grab the alien body on the way. Now,
Yep.
if you want to, that's going to be an extra bit of weight to carry.
No time.
I don't think
Too heavy.
Yeah, and potential quarantine risk. We're already going to have to manage the risk that we represent.
All right.
Trying
Then.
to take a sample as we pass. Grab an arm.
That's, of course.
Desecration of a corpse.
All right then. If Edwards wants to do that, that's going to be a fitness and security task in trying to rip the arm off as you go past. This is going to be a physical attempt. It's going to be difficulty 2, I'm going to say. It's a mummified corpse that you're trying to run past and rip the arm off as you go.
Just let you know, Matt, we're not leaving Stoker behind. We just
No, I guess that you just don't have control over us, so...
Oh,
yeah.
we totally are.
Can I use my value? This belongs in the museum.
Ooh! Yes!
We do have mummies in museums.
Yes, exactly.
It's desecration of a corpse.
And you
For science!
all of this is going into the report.
It's an unknown alien species. It's still better to have something. It might give you some insight to what's going on.
Yep, this totally plays in with Edwards' character, so I'm happy with you making the attempt, and if he's willing to go with a determination, 3 successes, 1 over above what you needed, Edwards, to everybody's disgust, and exacerbation, as you go past the corpse, he stops, reaches down, grabs one of the arms, levers it, wrenches it out of the socket, and manages to rip it clean of the corpse.
I mean, meanwhile, on the Navis, is that Vibers is going through his new position and realising that all the duty records are up to date.
Andrews is that dang good. Yes, indeed. But for now, yes, everybody is racing back towards the way that you came in. There are no filaments to impede your progress because you got rid of them. You are going to need to, as soon as you get to where you entered, you had to drop down to get into this area, so you will have to give each other some assistance. So I'm not going to require any task rolls for that. It's just going to slow you down a bit.
Yeah.
And you can definitely feel the thrumming of power as it's vibrating through all the filaments that are in this area. There's Stoker. Let's bring her over to you guys. Turin is falling behind, so I'll grab her and move her in as well. Whee! So this is where you entered. You have to be given a boost up to get to this entrance area here. But so yeah, somebody stays behind to boost everybody up, and then everybody has to try and grab that person to yank them up. Takes a bit of time.
Turin, you're falling behind. Get up here.
Get over here.
I think Nova will go last, being the lightest and easiest to pull up. I think if we get caught up first, because then we can do that as a team.
Yeah, everybody has to work to push Claude up, yes.
Yeah, but once he's up, Claude easily pull other people up.
Yes.
He's the most helpless as well.
Yeah.
So it kind of balances out. The biggest and heaviest one is a job to get up, but with all of you doing it, even though he's still heavy to push up, it means the biggest and strongest of you is able to pull the rest of you up pretty quick. So that's fine. So let's move you to outside. And this is where things get complicated.
What, because of all the complications we haven't rolled so far?
So, as you exit the complex, you enter into a howling storm. Either through the fact that this power buildup has created some kind of ionization effect in the atmosphere that's basically excited the local meteorological elements. There is now a howling gale going on out here, and as soon as you step out, you have to fight to maintain your footing, as the wind speeds are fighting to blow you over. So, I am going to need somebody to be the primary, and at least 3 others to be secondaries, as you are going to have to try to physically fight to get through the storm, to get to...
Can we use Clauter's, given his weight and mass, as some sort of shield and or anchor?
Yeah, that would be a good way of using him either as a secondary or as the primary. This is definitely going to be fitness and security, because you're fighting against the physical force of elements coming at you here.
So Claude, Bravo, not myself. Not Edward, because that's a fluke.
Let me also transport Stoker in here.
If only we knew Stoker's stats. I think the Nova's actually kind of like the most security after Bravo and Claw.
That's the road of missing.
Yep.
And you keep Admiral. Oh no, she's still prone.
Yeah.
She's not too happy.
She's not necessarily prone anymore, but she's still has to be assisted.
Is there any kind of danger to our EVA suits from this weather?
Certainly the wind is strong enough that it's kicking up plenty of debris, and there's evidence that some of those tech trees have been blown over. Some of them are leaning awfully precariously. Not to mention the buildings aren't in the best condition, so pieces of debris are flying around and pieces of the buildings are being ripped off. So yes, there's definitely a threat to the EVA suits if you happen to catch a piece of debris. So, nominate your primary.
Bravo.
Okay. Who's the and who are the three supportings?
Murder and determination. So Bravo's not. Shut up. Yeah, my duties. Yes, it's got value.
So one
My
man.
duties.
My duties. Yeah, I can say that. That's reasonable.
I'm going to spend my last threat to up the complication range, not that I've needed to so far, but nonetheless, this is a difficulty 2 job with added complication. So,
I say, I'd be all for Bravo burning this determination.
Yep, I'm good with that.
Okay, then I don't think I'll need a momentum.
oh, heck beans Bobby! Way! Bravo muscles his team along.
Bravo
Using
just
momentum.
Bravo tells the wind to stop blowing for a moment.
I'm telling Bravo it's Chuck Norris.
You're welcome.
Okay. Everybody else who's going to roll, please roll.
Hang on, we're doing
Fitness and security.
Oh, fitness and security.
So Bravo's the primary. He's already rolled. There's actually only no. Hang on. We've got 5 dice. That's as many as we can do.
Don't worry.
So we've done as many dice as we can do. So Bravo. So how I picture this is Bravo being security chief. He's been trained in how you try and escort priority targets. Yeah, so as if you're a bodyguard. If you watch any of the bodyguard training, you see they put their arm around the people they're trying to protect and they just muscle their way forward, trying to shield, but also almost half drag. So, yeah, Bravo practically drags the first 2 that he can get under his arms and pulls the rest along, allowing Claude to do the same while Bertram is still holding on to Stoker. Claude's hanging on to Bertram and Turin, while Bravo takes Nova and Edwards, and they just muscle their way through the storm. There is, however, one close call with a flying piece of debris. Now the good news is it's only 4 stress that Nova takes. And because it's Nova that rolled the complication, it's Nova that takes the hit. And luckily Nova repaired her suit so that it wasn't compromised. But it's suffered damage now. If you take another shot like that, you are going to be in trouble. But thankfully, thanks to Bravo's training, managed to make it to the cover of the building where your shuttle landed, and you managed to get yourself out of the storm. So now you make the long journey back up towards the shuttle, and you realize that you don't have long left before this power surge becomes an explosion, and you're going to have to still battle the elements to get the shuttle in the sky. So who is going to be the pilot?
Who do you think?
Who's going to be the co-pilot?
Probably say Turin because Nova's not rolling very well.
Okay.
I'm thinking maybe
That was
Claw.
a challenge.
Yeah, who's actually got?
Very stressed.
Yeah, who has actually got a con roll? It's either
What?
is Claude. Actually, no. Bravo's got 2. Bravo has a con of 2.
Claw's control 10 on 2.
Yeah?
And he's control. No, it's the same, so. Actually no, Bravo's. Either way. One of them.
Final decision then, is it going to be Bravo or is it going to be Claude who helps pilot the shuttle?
Yeah,
Or-
probably 20. See who wins.
I'd probably say it. Thomas Whitfield.
I like what he never said who's what.
Yeah.
Jan's been controlling Bravo, I've been controlling Claude, so...
So there you go. So Claude gets a 13. What does Bravo get?
It's Claw.
A 10.
Yeah.
So, Edwards and Claude are going to have to try and pilot the shuttle. Now, thankfully, the shuttle does offer some assistance in that regard. So, the shuttle,
I will. Yep.
whoever wants to be the shuttle assisting
Are
with
we
this.
getting comms with the Navis?
Scattered, but yes.
I'm going to steal the momentum for this.
Can we set up the pattern enhancers in the shuttle
Yeah.
just in case?
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah, probably a good idea.
Okay. Did you pack up the previous pattern enhancers, or have you got spares?
No one said anything, so nothing got picked up. Commanders, let's get going. So we got going.
You left Star Trek technology on an alien planet.
Like everyone else is rushing to pick it up.
You were the ones who were in charge of using. Okay, this is not an argument we're having now. Put up the shuttle. We will deal with this argument later.
Right, so we're going to want a control plus con with Edwards as the primary. We're going to want the same with Claude with just one dice.
Starship combat tactics?
Not
Like
for
so-
takeoff, no.
Starship recognition then?
Using Plort and the ship
For
roll.
piloting?
Well, he's recognising sort of like capabilities of the shuttle.
Okay, I'll allow that. It's tenuous, but I'll allow that. Who would like to be the shuttle? Who hasn't rolled much tonight?
Davis.
Davis, you get to be the shuttle, and luckily the icon for the shuttle is here. The shuttle will use engines and con, please. Just one dice to assist in this takeoff. If you could be so kind, sir. One success, and one success was what you needed. You got 2 successes, 4 overall, so you definitely got... Let me check... getting off the planet. Yeah, you got more than enough successes there, so I'm going to give you 2 momentum back. The shuttle takes off. And it's as soon as the shuttle's nacelles leave contact with the, with the pad, and it starts to lift off. There's a moment where the winds buffet the shuttle, and everyone is shunted violently to the side as the shuttle veers violently off to one side. But Edwards and Claude are able to maintain control, and eventually the shuttle takes off and starts climbing into orbit. And you successfully manage to make your way back to
Does it
the
explain?
Navis.
Please
Just
tell me
checking
this is
them.
scratch.
Does the shuttle have any secure holdings, like even sort of stasis fins or something like that? Because if it does, Bertram is going to demand all samples, including that ripped off arm, will be securely put in case they've got any sort of dangerous sort of elements to them or contaminations.
All samples, including crew that have been exposed.
Yeah. When we get back to Navis, Bertram will be enacting quarantine, medical quarantine sticks on us all.
Edwards would release the arm and the sample of the vines that he took as well.
Yep.
Okay, cool. There's no force fielded, shielded stasis modules as such, because it's just a small shuttle. But there are probably cargo boxes that you can just stuff things into.
Right.
You are given permission to board, and as such you can issue orders to the guys who are going to be poring over the shuttle to see if there's any damage or whatever.
Yeah.
To tell them.
The initial thing would be to quarantine the shuttle, so that
Yeah.
they would be allowed to actually access it to this.
There, right. So yeah, you let the shuttle bay crew know your orders in that regard.
Yeah.
Look, if it's not scratched, am I literally going to do a Wesley and just take over from Caval?
No, it's the paintwork is scratched superficially because of the sheer amount of debris that was in the air from the gale force winds. But other than that, the shuttle is pretty much fine.
You
Well,
do
we'll
find
be-
a request in your inbox when you get back to the ship from acting first officer, which said, due to lack of damage on shuttlecraft, you are invited to take helm positions on third shift.
Oh, that's harsh.
What, getting to fly the ship at night and then do the comms during the day? Yep.
Okay.
You are
Well, we'll be
hereby
going over
requested-
the shuttle.
Bit harsh. What kind of reward is that?
Kamal's going round with sort of like a scalpel and just scratching more of the paint off. It's like, look, there's damage here.
Going, aha!
Told you I
Okay.
was a better pilot than him.
Do I need anything else from this? Not really, so I'm going to stay with this map. Okay. So the away team manages to make it safely back on board the Navis, and you go through the proper quarantine procedures that you need to. Meanwhile, back on the bridge, you've got that. You get the bridge crew get the notice that the away team has managed to successfully land. So let me
Have
just.
the away team given us the update of the planet is going to potentially, or part of the planet is potentially going to go boom, or are we just going to sit here and wait for the detonation to go off?
No,
Like, oh look!
There would
Here's
be a
bomb.
communication when the initial
Yeah.
hail, I imagine, from
Yeah.
Edwards going, might want to back up, this thing's going to blow.
So just to remind us, the bridge crew currently looks more or less like this. Lechude isn't just hanging around, he is in Transporter Room 1 as usual, but Caval's still on helm, Ensign Keshen still is the secondary comms, Ensign Lenny, who usually seconds for helm, is taking over ops at the moment, just temporarily. Vibers is in his seat, Andrews is in her seat, Natala's there. Ensign Jenny Eric is also over there, replacing Turin for the moment. Bravo is chief engineer, so he's at the engineering station. Natik is currently dodging between tactical and whatever else that he needs to. So that's the rough layout of how we find the bridge.
Has the Navis been noticing the power spikes as well?
More than likely, since Commander Natala is quite fastidious and expert when it comes to sensors, she would have noticed the pattern enhancer and the emergency beacon go off. But because she didn't opt to use it, she just kept a monitor on the situation. As such, as soon as the shuttle started lifting off towards orbit, she would have told Andrews, and
Can we get potential? Can we do potential scans to see where the energy's coming from? Is it originating planet side or off planet?
It's definitely originating on the planet. It's almost like all those filaments were like power lines, and there's energy filtering into it, but there seems to be now going in an uncontrolled fashion. So the power's all going into one central spot, and it's just building and building and building, and eventually there's going to be nowhere else for it to go but out. But
I suggest that the initial course of action is to break orbit.
yeah, sure. You can get a safe enough distance
Yeah.
that the Navis
Move
won't be
us
done it
to
in.
the opposite side of the planet from where this device is.
That's fine. And you do so. Bertram and the others are going to be obviously quarantining themselves, so they have to go through quarantine protocols. As such, they are going to be unable to. They're not going to miss this next bit where Natik on tactical gets a notice that there is a ship coming out of warp. As it is coming into system. as the ship arrives.
I have to zoom into that for a minute. No, it's just like it can't
Yeah.
be. Like, it's not.
It's difficult to see, I admit.
No, I was just out there thinking, is that a Prometheus class? At which point this is going to get very interesting.
Uh-oh.
It's not Prometheus, it's good, but yes. I assume that, is it coming in hot or cold?
Well, I am going to want, if I take us back to the bridge, I am going to want probably Natala to do a control plus science with her sensor operations focus. So somebody nominate yourselves to be Natala. Sean, do you want to be Natala for a minute then?
Can Caval assist with ship recognition?
Yes. Let's see, that'll probably be insight and engineering with a focus on ship recognition, of course. Insight. A case could be made for reason instead of insight if he really wants to go that way.
Yes, please.
Okay, so that's just one dice for Caval to aid. Sorry, Sean, you were saying?
What am I rolling to?
So Natala will be rolling control and science for reading sensors with a sensor operations focus. Difficulty 1. 1 success from Caval, 2 successes. Okay. The ship is definitely of a configuration that you do not recognize, but Caval and Natala recognize enough that it's definitely Federation made, as it were. The ship itself, though, is definitely of an unknown configuration. Its weapons are active and its shields are up.
Okay, that's worrying that it's coming in weapons hot. We are still at yellow alert.
Yes.
So I would advise that the team is standby for all hands standing by for red alert.
Okay.
But we're not going to play the aggressor. And open hailing frequencies. Transmitting on standard Federation communicate if they're Federation.
Okay. You hail them, but Ensign Keshen on comms says there's no response. But as soon as he says that, there's a momentary pause, and then he gets a notice that yes, there's a hail coming through from the other ship.
On the screen.
When you bring the message up on screen, you are greeted with the dark interior of a ship with a number of individuals seen in the very spacious bridge, walking between the different stations, all of them wearing black uniforms, and their comm badges, rather than being the white and gold, are actually white on a field of black. The woman who fills the view screen is a Vulcan, and rather than having a standard uniform, she appears to be wearing a medical doctor's coat, and is standing there with her hands behind her back and viewing you with the typically Vulcan impassive stare.
Would we recognise this as Section 31 uniform, or do we need to roll?
You do not recognise this as Section 31 uniform, because Section 31 is a myth, a bedtime story.
Unlike the Obsidian Order and Tal Shiar, we actually keep our secret force secret.
Yeah.
Let me just consult my memory, shall I?
Yeah, Vibers even in Vibers' long life, Starfleet has an intelligence branch, certainly. But Vibers would certainly have never come across even the myth of the spook story of Section 31. Andrews, maybe. But, again, it's the spooks of the spooks. In any case, the woman on the screen, I want to engage. Acting Captain Sophia Andrews. We believe that you have on board of your ship the fugitive Admiral Stoker. We are here to take her off of your hands and transport her to Starfleet headquarters. If you could kindly lower your shields, we will do the same, and you can transport her aboard our ship.
Negative, until direct protocol has been received. On whose orders are you acting?
We are obviously acting upon the Federation's orders, Acting Captain Sophia Andrews. Please.
And as are we, and Admiral Stoker is under our direct protection as per the directive issued to us by our commanding officer.
I'm sure your commanding officer would be more than pleased to know that you handed over Admiral Stoker to the proper authorities.
Until transcript and documented record of approval of transmission and prisoner transfer when being requested, that is denied as per standard Starfleet protocol.
Thank you, chat, by the way. Acting Captain, I am sure you recognize the situation, and it would be logical for you to unburden yourself of having to transport Admiral Stoker when we obviously have a fast ship. And we are heading in that direction anyway.
I appreciate the offer. I assume she has the rank of captain. Does she not have a sigil that gives it the rank?
She has no rank insignia whatsoever. It's at this point that both Natala and Natik get the alert beep on their consoles that the other ship is conducting active scans of the Navis.
Oh, scan back.
Okay. Can I, in that case, get Natala, maybe aided by Natik? So who wants to take control of Natik? Gareth?
Yep.
Natala, once again, if Sean, you could take control of Natala again, could do control and science as before, aided by Natik, control and... Natik can keep control and security, actually, but use it as one dice assisting. Yep. Starfleet security procedures can apply here. I'll be nice with that.
Okay.
We're burning momentum.
Oh!
God's sake, Natik.
Oh, Captain, I accidentally set on the auto-destruct.
5 successes.
Access denied.
Ooh, okay. What's this Vibers protocol button do?
What's the middle of combat the Vibers protocol goes up? Oh god!
Actually, this is the safest time to use it because I'm sitting here on the bridge. I can just go off.
I would like to have, as much as I appreciate the offer, Commander, I would like to have my weapon system fully functional.
Now, when Natik's in a bit of a panic because this is his first time at tactical, so he doesn't make it easy for Natala to get a good read on the other ship. So Natik's complication is going to nullify one of Natala's successes, but Natala's still left with 4 successes. So Natala scans the other ship and finds that it has how best to do this? It is larger in size than the Navis, and as you can see has 4 warp nacelles, therefore has pretty high-powered engine capacity. It has phaser let me check this before I make an error. It has multiple phaser arrays, but also has stocked and loaded photon and quantum torpedo launchers. What's causing Natala some consternation is that the outer shell of the ship is some kind of deuterium composite that is making it very difficult for sensor scans to get an accurate scan of what's going on inside the ship. She can only get readings of what's going on the outside. Therefore, Natala cannot get any definite read on how many people and where they are going on inside of the ship. It's as if the outer hull of that ship is creating some kind of scattering or scrambling effect that's stopping sensors from penetrating the hull. But with that many successes, Natala does get reading enough that there are a couple of power nodules on the outer shell of on the outer hull of the ship that Natala can theorize that if power was shunted through these nodules, that this weird sensor baffling effect could probably be projected outside of the ship as well. Okay. So, yeah, Andrews puts that message as a private message across to... Yes.
Yeah, it's done on like the console, but it's just saying that it's prime it, ready to go, but don't engage.
As Natala is busy relaying this information to all other bridge stations, or the command stations anyway. So, you know, Vibers and Thazanan and Andrews all get this report from Natala. Security staff to the Admiral. Now, please go. Okay, yeah, cool.
Something doesn't sound right to Vibers. He doesn't know what's going to happen here, but these people are weird. They don't match any of the patterns. They shouldn't exist. And they're acting like they should give us orders.
Yeah.
Try, what is it? Stalling until it goes. As they try stalling until the planet goes critical, and then use it as a distraction to warp out.
Can't block it.
Yeah. I'm going
but
to
I can
ask
be very
again,
paranoid about it.
Captain, is that all prison transfers should be followed by Starfleet protocol unless we receive official designation and authority to do so. Admiral Stoker is under our protection, our superior officer's command.
As you're saying this, one of the bridge crew on the other ship approaches the woman in the view screen and whispers something to her. She just nods and sends him away. Acting Captain, we report to a greater authority, therefore we have the authority to take Stoker from you. Please make the logical decision.
Captain, if that's the case, then you report directly to Starfleet Command. So please provide security protocol and Starfleet protocol clearance for prisoner transfer, or we will decline your request again.
Acting Captain, let me assure you that my command codes and clearance are way above your clearance level, and I would be therefore in violation of Starfleet Intelligence Ordnance orders if I were to reveal the clearance code to you. Now please, accept the logic of the situation, lower your shields, and prepare to transport the Admiral aboard our ship.
If we are going through by logic, you are threatening us as a fellow Federation vessel. Therefore, I am requesting, as per Starfleet protocol, that the orders are received and transmitted. You are the aggressor in this situation. We are following our protocol, which you yourselves are currently violating.
The Vulcan woman, you can see the muscles in her jaw tense as that typical Vulcan trying to restrain the emotions thing goes on her face. And she kind of lets out this exacerbated sigh. Humans. I can never, ever understand your inability to comprehend logic. It's
Captain,
at this
I'm perfectly
point.
logical.
Sorry.
At this point, yes, I would say now, Kamal.
Well, as just before you get that, there is an alert that sounds out again on Natik and Natala's consoles, where both Natik and Natala are registering an increase in tachyons coming off of your port side. There's a ship decloaking off of your port side. Can I find the decloaking sound effects? Yes, I can.
That's a good decloaking sound. Yay, we like this decloaking sound.
No, we don't.
Can I get... Can I get Caval to give me a reason and engineering check? You can give me 2 dice and you get to use your starship recognition.
I already saw the name.
Yep, it's a Cavort class Klingon attack cruiser and you recognize its insignia. It's the Mapui. And
Cool.
Ensign Keshen on comms gets a notice that the Mapui is hailing you.
On screen.
So you wish to put them through, yes?
Oh yeah, I think we have a three-way conversation.
Okay. So Ensign Keshen makes sure that the other ship gets in on this situation, and you get the split screen effect on the view screen, and you see the interior of the Klingon bridge, all red lit and hard edges, with Klingon crew members at their stations, and you get the smiling face of Captain Akul on the other side. Audio effects. Greetings, Captain Andrews. Well, this is a curious situation I find myself walking into. Is everything all right?
Captain Akul, your presence here is graciously accepted.
Oh, I am good. I mean, what is a Klingon captain to think? Here we are, just idly roaming the shipping lanes, looking for interesting stellar phenomena, when we suddenly find a pair of evidently Federation ships in a standoff. This is interesting. At
Yes,
which
Captain,
point...
we're not quite sure who these people are. They might be pirates.
Oh, does that make the captain switch? God.
Does that make
Yes, sorry, go on.
Hasn't explained who they are.
Go on, Gareth.
I was going to say, does that mean the Vulcan goes, may you not be logical about this?
Yar, says Caval. Indeed, the Vulcan captain. Klingon captain. Due to the current hostilities between our governments, this is an internal Federation matter, and you are thereby asked to kindly excuse yourself from what is essentially an internal Federation matter. Please turn your ship about and leave.
Captain Akul, as co-operating ships of Narendra Station, we have been on several missions before, and the appreciation of assistance is graciously accepted in resolving this standoff as a neutral party.
Captain Andrews, just per my remembering of our standing orders, our standing orders are to report to Narendra Station and be under the orders of the combined control of Narendra Station.
That is correct. And the
Captain, what were your orders again? Mr. Captain Nicol?
I am
These are
so
important
glad
days.
you asked that. Commander Vibers. My, we have all gone up recently, haven't we? Well, as it happens, the Mapui wasn't just idly looking for stellar phenomena. I'm afraid in that regard, I was lying. What I actually was doing was transporting a very important passenger who would very much wish to return back to her home amongst the stars. At that point, Captain Akul kind of gestures to his side, and a human woman in plain civilian clothing walks onto the view of the Mapui. It's Captain Adriana Ducasse, who
What's in the buffer after all?
who nods at everybody on the other side of the view screen. Captain Andrews, I see. Keeping my seat warm for me, I hope.
For now, Captain, it's good to see you. We have a lot we need to discuss with you.
I couldn't agree more, Captain.
Which now means, turning to the Vulcan captain, is that with our captain on board the Mapui, it seems that both the Mapui and the Navis are currently operating under the same joint command structure. Therefore, I ask again, per Starfleet regulation and protocols, that any prison transfer is indicated to us and signed by the approval of the Federation, or by the Federation or Starfleet Command. Failure to do so will mean a rejection in us handing over Admiral Stoker to your care.
The Vulcan woman is fighting her urge, obviously fighting her anger and frustration so much that it does actually come out a little bit in her expression. Finding you, Captain Adriana Ducasse, on board of a Klingon vessel in these current sensitive diplomatic ties, I find extraordinarily suspicious. So it seems that I might actually have two fugitives of the Federation to take back for questioning.
As far as I was aware, Captain, is that Admiral Stoker has been restrained already and has been handed to our care as part of an investigation. She's not a fugitive. Captain Ducasse, as per all official records, has been missing and is not a fugitive of the Federation, according to all of the reports that have been issued to us and our superior officer, which means that either you are acting with false information or you are acting under false pretense.
Just as the Vulcan captain is about to respond, there comes a obvious clapping sound, which you realise is coming from Captain Ducasse, as she has a big old smile on her face.
Commander, why are we negotiating with pirates?
This is true. I think that our primary mission has now been resolved and we have successfully, well, we have found some information, but our primary mission is not completed and we should be returning to Naranda Station. So I thank you for this conversation, Captain. Unless you have any further questions of us, because you have not submitted the correct documentation, we will be returning to Naranda Station. If you wish to launch a formal complaint, you are more than welcome to do so through the correct Starfleet protocol.
Natala and Natik get another quick computer alert, which they read as the other ship is powering up its the nodules on its outer hull, and it's now created a sensor baffling effect. Natik and Natala can no longer tell whether or not the other ship has got its weapons powered up or not.
Yes, fine. I think now is the perfect time, Mr. Abound.
Engage.
So yeah, just as you power up the warp systems, a communication actually comes through on a private channel to each of the main bridge members, which bears Captain Ducas's ID signature on it, and it gives you a set of coordinates. So, at which point, yes, you
I
all
would say that we
warband.
hit the warp to Narandra, but then we change course to the coordinates that the captain has issued.
Okay. I've just temporarily lost connection to the server. Hopefully it'll be coming back, so let's see what happens.
They're so powerful, they booted us out the server.
As you
That
shriek off to
syndicate
warp.
gets worse. Works every time we bump into them.
Okay. Let's change the ambience a little bit.
Whilst we're on, I will be asking Natala to create a full diagnostic of that ship and to provide all information related to it as part of the as part of the mission debrief. In fact, transmit it ahead of us to Narendra Station,
Cool. Okay.
so that if they do fire upon us and destroy us, that information was transmitted. Was there any obvious registries on it, or was it just nothing
No.
at all? Yeah.
It was entirely blank of any registry or any ID whatsoever.
Pirates. Only explanation.
Yo ho diddly dee.
They're obviously part of the syndicate and are impersonating Starfleet personnel. I'd like to submit a report to Narendra Station for other ships to be on the lookout for these dangerous Orion Syndicate pirates impersonating Starfleet personnel in the area.
Actually, I'll keep him there. So you're in transit back to Narendra Station. As such,
Once we're in transit as well, is Admiral's just going to give out a massive kind of like exhale of breath. Like the adrenaline is just going to kind of start wearing off and the shakes. It's like,
Mr. Matobo,
So it's the doctor being allowed out of quarantine.
Mr. Matobo, double gin to the bridge, please.
that's
Not until we've all got a clean bill of health.
Gin? You mean whiskey?
Andrews probably does. No, she does drink. She's probably. I don't know. She'd probably. I don't know. She probably would be a brandy drinker.
Splice the main brace, indeed. Okay. So you guys get time enough to put yourselves through, those of you who are on the away team, put yourselves through quarantine. Thankfully nothing comes up that suggests that you are infected by any of these filaments or anything like that. Any
What about Stoker? Is she there any long-term kind of signs of infection?
not that's easily viewable. The betazoids who analyze her mind I will get to in a moment. But otherwise, Stoker has given a clean bill of physical health. What she went through physically was able to be treated by Bertram without any problem. Now that you're back on the Navis, your medical facilities are more than able to help her with whatever physical damage she suffered. She sells seashells on the seashore. Yeah. So you do eventually veer out to the coordinates you were given, and when you get there, you wait all of 10 minutes or so before the Mapui arrives. At which point, you get a request for somebody to beam over to the Navis.
I think that we would welcome that request.
And let me see. Klingon transporter sound. Beaming off. Beaming on. Captain Ducasse, well, Adriana Ducasse in her civvies, arrives on the bridge. Well, I'm glad to see my faith in you all has not been misplaced at all.
Captain, it's good to see you.
It is extraordinarily good to see you all. I owe you an explanation, don't I?
We have some understanding of what happened, but yes, Captain. I saw the picture you posted in the Discord.
Let me quickly have a look at the Discord. Right, okay. Silly pictures, basically.
Oh, God. Sorry.
I've just distracted the acting captain.
Yes.
Well, technically, I am not yet fully reinstated as the captain of this vessel, so for the moment, Commander Vibers, you are still first officer. I am just a visitor. Well, where would you like me to begin?
Well, we know what happened with you and Admiral Stoker, so probably taking it from there, Captain.
How did you get in out of the buffer, Captain?
Yes, the buffer. Well, that little piece of salvation actually comes from a very determined and conscientious transporter chief.
Damn it, Lachute!
Isn't it?
Gregory, being his typical self, found the part of the transporter buffer that was sealed. And being himself, since he does pretty much consider Transporter Room 1 as his own sacred sovereign space, was apparently a bit annoyed at the fact that somebody had gone and created a secured and sealed off section of the transporter buffer without asking him first. So even though the security codes were locked with an admiral's authorization, Gregory Lachute somehow found a way of circumventing an admiral's command codes.
I'm going to assume that he was then under orders not to say he'd done this, Captain.
Correct. I figured that as much as I relished the idea of confronting Admiral Stoker with what she did, I still had the bothersome notion of who it was that was lending even half credence to Stoker's ravings about some conspiracy or other. And there was no way I was going to be able to find out the truth if I was shackled temporarily by my responsibilities as being the captain of this fine vessel and its crew. So I elected to go off book, as it were, for a time. I'm led to believe that, Vibers, you contacted my uncle at some point.
It only seemed fair as a friend and family, as it were.
I'm sorry that I asked the housekeeper to lie to you. The truth was, I was actually in the Admiral's abode when you called. You see, in order to do what I did, I needed some help from those with higher authorization than mine. I wanted to try and see if I could uncover whether or not there was a conspiracy of people with authority within Starfleet and the Federation. To do that, I needed the help of somebody with authorization and command codes that would allow me to do that. Which means that I had to eat more than my fair share of crow and contacted my uncle. I didn't want to do it, but there we go.
How's the family for?
Well, quite. And there was this mystery to solve. Now, after you warped out with that other ship, I managed to get a couple more comments off to the Vulcan woman who was evidently in command of that other ship. I let her know that I knew things, and that you knew things. Because technically, you do know things, they're just secured in the main computer. That program that I had running in the background, that was probably eating quite a few computer cycles?
Yes. You've got a memory leak in that. Can I have a look? Show me the code.
I'll give you the command codes to disable it and relinquish the information. That was kind of my ace in the hole, as it were. Those people aboard that ship had to let us go because they couldn't guarantee that in a fight against two vessels, one of them wouldn't escape. And both of them had information that they didn't want to be let out. In order to plant this information, I needed Captain Akul's help, which was why he volunteered to help captain this ship on one occasion. So,
The impression he didn't take much persuading. He was quite happy to be in that seat for a change.
he was, to be sure. We have a very good friend with Akul. In fact, it was Captain Akul and his crew that did do a fair share of ferrying me around whilst they were under cloak. We have a bargaining chip now with these people, whoever they are. I can't say for sure that we won't meet them again, but they were the ones responsible for those mental patients going missing. I managed to successfully uncover a starbase that they were sending these patients to. Even though they were falsifying records of where these patients were actually going to, the real destination was this starbase. It'll surprise none of you, I'm sure, to learn that the starbase I uncovered is not on any official records anywhere within any Federation database. Amongst the people and patients on that starbase was Admiral Stoker's son. I don't know what they were doing with them, but they were there against their will. So who knows? So, there we have it. That's what I've been doing with my time. I have to say, everyone, I'm really, really proud of all of you. How you've managed without a captain, and the fact that you managed to get through all those missions and not actually physically remove Stoker on medical grounds. You people have the patience of saints.
She is very lucky to have not been medically discharged or disappeared for an airlock on several occasions, Captain.
Yeah, Locke. I will say the conversation came up on one occasion between me and Stoker when she was acting unstable. I don't, like most people in my position, I don't throw about that sort of command lightly. Just the mention of it wasn't at least enough on that occasion to calm her down a bit.
Cabal and Andrews have restrained many such attempts and insinuations from myself and most of the rest of the crews.
I restrained nothing.
No, in all seriousness, I couldn't have asked for a better crew to do what you've done. I'm glad to be back, if you'll have me back. Assuming, of course, Andrews, you've not gotten too comfortable with the command seat.
Not yet, Captain. It would be an honour to have you back in command of the vessel.
Well, for the time being, she's still yours to command, Captain. So, I am very much looking forward to time back in my quarters on the Ranger Station, if you would be so kind.
Mr. Cabal, set course on the Ranger Station. All six.
Okay. So, the Navis goes back to Narendra Station. So I'm just going to kill this ambience and take us to general bridge ambience. In transit, you are able to get some conversation with Admiral Stoker. And the information you get out of her is somewhat revelatory, but also somewhat troubling. The technology you encountered on that moon wasn't just some artifact of a dead civilization, it was actually alive in some fashion. And Stoker says that there was some sentience to it that was trying to communicate with her, especially when it inserted its the tendrils into her mind, into her brain. Stoker states that her mind is finally her own again, but she got the impression that there was multiple consciousnesses reaching out through this technology. Whether or not they were benevolent or malevolent, she couldn't quite make up her mind. But for the brief moment that she was, as she says it, in sync with the machinery, she was made aware of the purpose of the moon and the station on it. And that was to broadcast obfuscated data. Stoker's not clear on why this is the purpose, but she knows that there are at least a dozen other installations of this sort throughout the galaxy. And the final impression that Stoker got was that not only was these multiple consciousnesses reaching out from wherever they were reaching out from, they were also intent on activating their technology. And that last power surge on the planet was a mass broadcast sent out. Stoker believes that this was an activation protocol. And yeah, whatever else you find in regards to this civilization may now be starting to wake up. And that's where I'm going to call it quits for tonight. So,
who I blame? Tanaban.
Yes, indeed. So, yeah, just to round things out for this episode, were there any specific things that the crew wanted to get done when they arrive back on Narendra Station? Any questions you want to ask about what happens when you arrive back at Narendra Station?
Bertram would want to actually have a brief conversation with Andrews about linking the Vulcan here with some of the information that we got earlier, specifically a name. But yeah, I haven't brought it up because of where it came from. I wanted to make sure Andrews was okay with who and what we share with like Ducasse and the others.
It's interesting you mention that, because Ducasse will want a word with Andrews, and if she learns about the fact that Andrews and Vibers and Bertram have been conducting an investigation of their own, yeah, she will want to bring them all together for this, because she does have something that she wants to share. So it depends on whether or not this closed group wants to remain closed, or if they want to bring in others from outside on this.
I'm quite happy for the conversation to be made public, because obviously Andrews has not hidden the fact that she's had a neurotransponder stuck to the back of her neck since the incident.
Okay. So,
I'm pretty sure we did bring everyone up to speed, didn't we?
I think we did.
Okay.
Vibers does have a conversation he needs to have with Latude, but...
Bad Latude.
No, not bad Latude. Good Latude, help me with this emergency protocol. Do you have any other fake Admiral codes we can hide it under?
So yes,
Admiral Jim Bob.
Vibers, maybe on when the mandatory wind down.
I've had 3 years worth of 3 lifetimes worth of dealing with rogue admirals. I'm having emergency procedures in place.
So yeah, Vibers catches up with Latude when you're both off duty in the mess hall, and Latude automatically assumes he's going to get yelled at, and instead, Vibers just sits down and goes, "So, tell me how you did it, because that was really interesting. I want to know more."
That was well done. I want to know how you did it, and can we look at the Vibers protocol put based off the biopatterns? If we integrate that in with your stuff, we can hide an emergency program for dealing with a rogue admiral.
Nice.
In the secondary transporter buffers and insert techno babble as we winter off.
So yeah, whereas normally Latude is very kind of distant from others and doesn't has kept himself separate from everybody else, he kind of softens a bit and seems to be generally interested in what Vibers has got to say, so yeah, he's very enthusiastic about the whole thing. But it's later on that the command bridge crew, including Edwards, are called together for this little debrief in regards to you wanted to Gareth, you said you wanted to try and link stuff you've learned with the Vulcan woman that was in the other ship.
Yeah, the name that I got is Talar.
Talar. Yes, indeed. Captain Ducasse reveals that while she was trying to track down who these people might be, she did come across a largely redacted project called Trojan. And the only reason that she stopped to look at it, even though the majority of this project that's been kind of archived away, even though it's still redacted, there's still enough to be interested in. It's got a list of the personnel who were in the project, involved in the project. 3 of those faces on that personnel report look very familiar. The head of that project is a Dr. Talar, and the profile picture is spot on. It's the Vulcan woman on the other ship. One of the other members of that project, under a different name, but the woman is unmistakably Tannenbaum, but not under the name Tannenbaum. It's an entirely different name. And it makes you, those of you who are looking at the list, it makes you do a double take. But there is one person that has an uncanny resemblance to Andrews, but it's not quite. Captain Ducasse reveals that this woman's name is... Now, who did I keep saying... What did I keep confusing Andrews' surname as before? Webby.
Yeah.
Dang it, because I can't remember it now.
If you're going by the bio...
Wasn't it Nova Natala?
It was Nova Natala who was getting wrong.
There was... I kept on thinking Andrews was something else. Philippa. Her first name, I kept on confusing her first name. Philippa. I kept referring to her as Philippa. Yes, there's a Philippa Stevens on this list of personnel for Project Trojan. The resemblance is there, but it's not quite. So, Captain Ducasse notes that this could just be a coincidence, or the people responsible for putting Andrews back together, because she was pretty damaged, could have used someone else as a template. And as it happens, Dr. Talar has a specialty not only in what's it called? Oh God. When you analyze a crime scene, forensics. She's not only a forensic psychologist, but she was also has an expertise in bionics. So, it's possible that this woman, this Philippa Stevens, could be Andrews, but in all likelihood, it's not. But she bears a resemblance to Andrews. But a resemblance, that's just it.
Did we manage to find anything about Project Trojan other than that?
Not really. As Ducasse states, it's been redacted. You know, one of those annoyingly multi-redacted. You know, on stardate blank, engaged in blank with blank, to the effect of blank, 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 and it goes on like that.
Blankety blank.
Indeed.
Blankety blank.
Contact blank for more information.
Not blank.
However, Captain Ducasse does note that the fact that they left their faces in this project list, considering who these people might be, this could be a red herring they left behind, intentionally. So, who knows for sure?
Because when we accosted Tannenbaum, is that she stated, "Oh, Philippa," which seems to hold merit, if that's the case.
In any case, that was all Ducasse was able to find. She said as a result she owes her uncle and more than a few other people some favours now as a result of finding all of this out. The upside is that Admiral Horatio Ducasse has never had any love for the idea of Starfleet intelligence. And so far as, you know, infiltrating and spying on other people. So the fact that his niece has now uncovered possible illegal goings-on, you know, Federation citizens kidnapping Federation citizens and interring them in a starbase against their will, it means that Admiral Horatio Ducasse now has ammunition to try and go after these people and see what they might actually be about. But, yes, Captain Adriana Ducasse has cashed in quite a few favours to do this, so who knows what that'll result in. But for now, the crew of the Navis is hopefully free to keep on operating as they had previously. So, hopefully that answers any questions you might have that aren't already been established as questions without answers for now. More plot threading for later on. So,
I think I'm just going to need to start taking a hacksaw and a bucket with him when it comes to these type of missions now. That's convenience sake.
Just in case there's something he wants to get his hands on, yes.
Plus, desecrate more corpses, get more hacks.
Oh yes, I have to hand you the report of the mission, don't I?
Yeah. Actually, no, you don't, because I can pass it back to the captain to review.
Desecration of corpses, abandoning the Federation technology, and attempt to blame the commanding officer.
It's like being told to get going, it's going to explode, and leaving me by myself to pick up all three.
Yes, I see that Mr.
Unequip and pack away all three.
Mr. Changeling,
while you lot
wanting
ran
to
out.
become Ensign Changeling, will stay as Mr. Changeling.
Yeah, we'll have to deal with the reputation strikes or passes at another juncture. But yes,
Changeling.
for the moment, excuse me, that's all she wrote for this episode. This was episode 12. Hopefully everybody's available for next week to carry this on. Episode 13. Good grief, we've come far, haven't we? So, unless anyone's got anything they want to say before we sign off, then I shall bid everybody good night and take care of yourselves until next week. Hopefully everybody's still available for next week. And yeah, live long and prosper. Hailing frequencies closed. Look after yourselves, everybody. Good night.